Remind me to never shake any ceramic hands, please. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions, and today I'm going to give you my review of A24's latest genre-bending horror film, Talk to Me. But before we get started, you know exactly what to do. Please leave a like, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm so that I can reach a bigger audience. Subscribe and ring the bell so that you never miss my new reviews. I've started to get out more than one a week, so I'm going to see if I can keep that going. Also trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so I really appreciate your subscription. Now let's get into it. Talk to Me is an Australian indie horror film distributed by A24 and directed by two YouTuber brothers, Danny and Michael Philippou. And with how well written, shot, and acted this movie is, along with the heaps of creepiness and tension that come with it, I am honestly shocked that these are two first-time directors.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
So this movie revolves around a ceramic hand, and if you light a candle, hold the hand, and say "talk to me," you see a spirit. And those spirits are usually pretty nasty and scary to look at. So a bunch of stupid teenagers have found this hand and have turned it into kind of a party trick, tying their friends to a chair and allowing them to be possessed for 90 seconds, before they blow out the candle and send the spirit back. But no longer than 90 seconds. Any longer and the spirits might want to stay and haunt you forever.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
There's only been a couple of horror movies that have really stuck out to me this year so far, like Megan and Evil Dead Rise. Maybe Beau is Afraid, but that's not really a straight-up horror movie. But Talk to Me stands out above both of them, and is easily my favorite horror movie of the year so far.
It rocked. It rocked my ass off.
We've seen concepts like this before, I know. A group of friends find some possessed or haunted object, and because they're stupid, they end up f***ing around with the object, and they end up getting possessed or seeing things, and people die, shit hits the fan. You've seen it before. The premise isn't much different here, but the way the movie wears this on its sleeve, and plays around with the idea of these friends actually having fun with this object and turning it into a party trick that they can post about all over social media for clout, was actually really genius and perfectly written for this day and age.
Hey, I told you kids!
And I may have picked up on this wrong, but it kind of felt to me like using the hand and getting possessed for those 90 seconds kind of felt like a metaphor for drug addiction, while like the party and like pushing people into it aspect kind of felt like peer pressure. And all of those come in hard with our main character Mia, played by Sophie Wilde. Now the trailers don't go into too much about her and her backstory, but the biggest plot point about her backstory is revealed basically in the very beginning of the movie, so it's not really a spoiler. Mia is a pretty depressed and down on her luck teenager. Her mom died 3 years before the start of the movie, and her dad, Max, played by Marcus Johnson, is kind of a deadbeat now because of it. She also spends most of her time at her best friend's house, Jade, played by Alexandra Jensen, hanging out with her and her little brother, Riley, played by Joe Bird. It's these friends that she goes to party with to see this hand up close and figure out if it's actually real or not, along with Jade's boyfriend, Daniel, played by Otis Donji. This is where we meet the two other characters that round up our group of irresponsible teens, Haley, played by Zoe Tarakis, and Joss, played by Chris Alazio, who were the ones that actually ended up with this hand in the first place.
Where'd you get it from anyway?
Apparently it was the hand of someone who could connect with the dead.
But after Mia gives it a try, it's all that she can think about, and she does everything she can to get more time with the hand until she eventually starts to see ghosts without it, and her behavior starts changing. See how I came out of this feeling like it was kind of a metaphor for addiction and using that to treat your depression?
Nailed it.
Anyways, while I'm still talking about Mia and her story, Sophie Wilde gives an amazing performance in this film, like career defining, and she's definitely the main character. I don't think there's a scene in this movie that she's not in outside of the very beginning, which by the way is a gut punch of a scene in and of itself that really shocks you and draws you in, setting the scene for the rest of the film. I'm getting off on a tangent. Sophie Wilde kills it here. She brings the dramatic weight, especially during scenes when she's dealing with the loss of her mother or talking about it with her dad or her friends or whatever, and living through those emotions. She displays those emotions so naturally, but gives a pretty subtle performance to where it never feels like she's acting. She also very effectively and naturally plays up both the fear and the wonder of seeing somebody use the hand and using it herself for the first time, while having great chemistry with the rest of the cast, especially Jade and Riley, who are basically like her adopted family. And when the movie calls for her to be scary, whether it's a scene where she's being possessed or kind of losing her mind, she absolutely nails it every single time, to the point where I had chills through a lot of this movie. The rest of the cast all do a great job and sell this movie too, especially Alexandra Jensen's Jade, but especially her mom, played by Éowyn from Lord of the Rings herself, Miranda Otto, who absolutely nails that mix of concern and slightly overbearing yet ultimately loving and caring mom, who feels like she is going to lose her shit just trying to keep her kids safe. That character also brings a lot of natural humor into the movie, and it's humor that always works in the context and feels realistic between the interactions with her and the other characters. It never feels forced like a quip in the MCU would.
Does he look like a spider?
No, more like a man.
Climbs walls, shoots webs.
Yeah, bingo.
Out of his butt?
Comedy.
With a unique horror movie like this, so much of it already works well. But the main thing I want to point out in this movie that is super effective from the very beginning is the tension and how it builds. Just like last year's Barbarian, there are moments in this movie that last for several minutes on end where the tension just rises and builds throughout the entire part. That whole time you're just clenching and waiting for something terrifying to happen, and a lot of the time the movie delivers.
Daddy, I'm scared.
Yeah, well, you're gonna be.
And outside of a few jump scares that are crafted very well to the point where they never really got on my nerves or annoyed me as they usually do, most of what is scary in this film is done through tension or atmosphere or short bursts of shockingly realistic violence, or just giving you a ghost to look at that is disgusting or completely horrifying. And the way this film played around with the unreliable narrator trope reminded me of something like Joker with how well it was done. Recontextualizing scenes or just adding another punch of horror at the end of one. All of this leads to a haunting ending that is just going to sit with me for a long time. I had to sit in silence through the credits in the theater just to absorb it all. This really is an effective and refreshing horror film that thrives on its tension and the interesting ways that it plays with its premise while offering a smart story, great characters with a career-defining performance from Sophie Wilde, well-crafted scares that never resort to cheap jump scares or gross-out gags, and a surprising amount of heart that really round this out as one of the best horror movies of the year so far. And that's my review of Talk to Me. If you like this video, you know exactly what to do. Please leave a like, helps me out with the algorithm so I can reach a bigger audience. While you're at it, you can go down below, find the links to my socials in the description, leave a comment with your thoughts, let me know if you saw the movie and what you thought about it, and of course, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you never miss any of my new reviews. Lastly, you can tap right here to go to my review of Barbie, or head to my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time for my review of Haunted Mansion.